So firstly, what I just want to say is, for the revision of Spider-Man 3, remove Eddie Brock
And I'm dating your daughter.
and Venom.
Ooh, my spider sense is tingling. If you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so
Like-
I have thoughts on that. First, my first note that I had was recast Peter Parker. Literally anyone. Please no more Tobey Maguire.
What?
And I just wrote down some
Yeah.
of my favorite like moments, like a couple of my favorite lines that Tobey Maguire just only he can deliver those lines in that specific way. Like, and this was in Spider-Man 2, but just when MJ is talking to him and he just says,
Oh boy, yeah.
I don't remember what the context was, but when he's just like, oh
She
boy,
finally
yeah.
agreed to have sex with him.
I think she says like, hey, do you want to hang out or something? And he's like, oh boy, yeah. And my other favorite line that just only Tobey Maguire could deliver in such a way is,
I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye.
Now, here's the thing, though. I wouldn't say recast them. I'd say leave the castings as they are, because the problem isn't the castings, in my opinion. It's just what all the shit that they threw into this one movie, because they've got so many conflicts that they have to build up for Peter Parker, and it just creates him into this this cesspool of a person. Like, whereas before, he's not a good person.
That's a cute outfit. Did your husband give it to you?
But he's not as bad as he is in 3.
I'm gonna cry.
I guess,
Like, you take the Peter Parker from Spider-Man 2, and you compare him to the one in Spider-Man 3. The one in Spider-Man 3 is just an actual piece of shit. Like, even without the black suit.
yeah, for sure. Now,
Whereas in 2, he's just kind of a jackass.
Day by day, he gazed upon her. Day by day, he sighed with passion.
But he's still kind of likable.
Pizza time.
the vibe that Tobey Maguire gives off as Peter Parker, like, you know, the Adventures of Jimmy Neutron, when Jimmy Neutron is working at McSpanky's
Yeah.
sodium
I
chloride
know what
thing.
you're going to say.
Just a little sodium chloride.
Yeah.
He is that clip, but turned into 3 movies.
But anyway, so my idea for how to fix Spider-Man 3, though, is we leave the castings, we just remove Eddie Brock and Venom
Trash, bro.
entirely,
Yeah.
and have the story more focused on, like it's split into 2 halves. Well, okay, when I say it's 2 halves, I mean, like, there's 2 storylines going throughout it.
Like an A and a
That's,
B
like,
plot.
dealing with... Yeah, the A plot is the Sandman shit. Well, okay, the A plot really is going to be mostly about Green Goblin, because that's where most of the drama is. Because you need to deal with the Harry situation. Because, like, you've got
Yeah.
to the point where he's Green Goblin now.
Yeah, I have some notes on that.
So, you wanna do your notes, or you want me to continue my thing?
Well, I'll let you continue for a little bit, and I'll just hop in because I have some notes about
Gotta-
Venom and Harry.
Alright. But, so the next thing, though, that I do is Sandman, you know, like, he'd be the B plot. So he'd be basically as he is in the
By the
movie.
way, I do also
But
have that in
Sandman
my
is-
notes too. I do think Sandman is a worthy inclusion as like a side villain, like a Freak of the Week style, like opening villain, I guess.
Yeah, because, like, Sandman never really had much grounds as a character. Like, he doesn't have any, like, real big personal connection with them. Except for what they did, which I changed. I wouldn't make Sandman be the guy that shot Uncle Ben.
Oh yeah.
I understand why they
in
did
my
that.
version, I would have like no backstory for him. Just be like a thug that got powers, like in Spectacular Spider-Man, which I know I reference that show a lot, but it's just so good with how it handles characters, for the most part.
I'd still just say leave the whole sympathetic thing there. Just make him, you know, more of a human character, but at the same time, you know, he's still a bad guy.
Well, I just feel like that takes away like any time that you're spending developing the B villain takes away from time that could be spent on the A villain, and the movie's already
Okay,
close
so-
to 2.5 hours.
We'll kill off his daughter. Gotcha. So next stage, though, Sandman, same thing. He just wants money, so he has superpowers and he does all the stuff. But the main plot's gonna mostly focus on Peter and Harry's new rivalry. I also want to change the Green Goblin costume because I understand what they're going for with the design, but his costume doesn't scream like Green Goblin.
Screams like
2.
snowboard video game alternate skin.
It looks like what a bad guy from Power Rangers would be wearing.
It looks like my OC from Sonic Forces.
Oh my god.
No, I actually want to jump in with my take on the whole Harry situation.
Yeah, go.
So I noticed watching the movie that there are really good aspects to Venom and Harry Osborn as villains.
Yeah.
I just don't like the new Goblin, and I don't like Eddie Brock.
I like being bad. It makes me happy.
So
You want to put them at the same person?
Yeah, one change that I would make is I would remove Eddie Brock entirely from the plot, and I would give the symbiote. I would transfer Venom to Harry, because
that's actually a pretty neat thing to do.
Yeah, like I noticed like watching Spider-Man 2 and then Spider-Man 3, like that's the trajectory that he is heading in.
Is becoming the bad guy his like arch rival.
Yeah, Harry, I believe in Spider-Man 3 should serve as sort of I guess not like an allegory or a metaphor, but I guess he should show Peter what happens when you let, I guess, anger consume you, because, you know, you would still have Peter in the black suit for a bit, maybe have him like just brutally wail on Sandman. And that's how you can get Peter like not necessarily pulling his punches, but not, you know, murdering people in cold blood. But, you know, you still get to have him get like really pissed off and just consumed by anger, and he's just going ham. Or maybe just have him go off like hard on a mugger or something, just, you know, and then he realizes, and this is another note that I had, I absolutely love every interaction with him and Aunt May. So I think Aunt May should really be she should be the driving force for what ultimately pulls him out of the darkness and motivates him to get rid of the symbiote, which she kind of is like at a couple different points. But I think that Peter should just be in the symbiote and he should be consumed by the darkness for just a solid chunk. It shouldn't be like a back and forth thing. So he gets the symbiote. He's like,
you'll get your rent when you fix this damn door.
He's an asshole. And then, you know, Aunt May's like,
Spider-Man doesn't kill people.
And by the way, she knows that he's Spider-Man. I just want to get that.
Yeah.
I want to make that clear. It's very heavily like hinted at that she knows that he's Spider-Man.
I believe there's a hero in all of us.
I just wanted to mention that. So she's like, Spider-Man doesn't kill people. You don't kill people, Peter. I know that you wouldn't because you're just Peter Parker and you're not Spider-Man and you don't have superpowers. But hypothetically, if you did, you wouldn't kill people and you would be a good person and you would look out for the little guy.
Yeah.
And so then he would be like, fuck, you're right. And then Venom would move on to Harry, who at this point doesn't have someone that can really pull him back like that. And he doesn't feel motivated to pull himself back from being consumed by rage and revenge and hatred.
Because all he wants to do is kill Peter at that point. Yeah.
So he serves, and by the way, Peter, in my ideal version of the movie, even in Spider-Man 2, he would insist, no, I did not kill your father, but Harry wouldn't believe him. And that also serves as more, I guess, that serves as more character development for Harry, or not, maybe not development, but it shows more of his character, because it shows that despite his best friend telling him, look, your father was the Green Goblin, I got receipts, he killed himself, he still feels this rage towards Peter, despite all of the evidence pointing to the fact that Peter was only acting in self-defense. So he's beyond saving. That's how we get I guess Peter fighting and ultimately killing Venom, if we're still going to do that, without it also feeling like you're killing someone that could be saved. And then Harry / Venom acts as like a dark shadow of what Peter could be had he not, had Aunt May to pull him back, or had he not, seen the error of his ways.
I will admit, yeah. I mean, I think your idea might be better than mine, because mine was basically just like not the same thing, but just him as Green Goblin.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't see the whole New Goblin thing adding much to the plot. And by the way, in my version, he wouldn't get amnesia, because the whole
mine either.
The whole amnesia arc. It felt like Changnesia in Community. Great show, watch it. It's on Netflix.
But by using a special shiny glass called a mirror, I've estimated that I'm 15 years old, although I have no way of knowing.
But it felt like that. Like the same thing where it's like, why would you give a character amnesia if not just to kind of put them to the side for a little bit while you figure out what to do with them?
That's basically what happened. Like everyone that talks about it is like, oh yeah, this is the reason they did this. They just needed to give it time for all the other shit. That's why I don't want to do that. With mine, I was thinking like, start of the Sinister Six kind of shit with Green Goblin and Sandman teaming up at the end. Like, Spider-Man beats them because he's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But, something like that, like start the team up and shit. That way, when you start introducing the other ones like Vulture and Electro and Mysterio and crap, kind of builds up to sequels.
I love the idea of doing the Sinister Six. I just...
Yeah, the problem with that, though, is if you want it done nice, you either do a 60-hour-long game where you understand the backstory of the characters because it's essentially based off of the comics.
Oh yeah, you got to build up to it for sure.
Even the game, you release separate movies.
Yeah, even the game Spider-Man PS4, that I like. It doesn't introduce the character, like it doesn't give like their origin story and everything. Like you're not seeing like, oh, it's a common criminal, now he's the Scorpion, now it doesn't do that. Like these are pre-established characters. These are characters that have been around. Peter already fought them and now they're teaming up. Like, so even then that, however long the game is, it's like, it's still like, not even all the time that it takes to develop the characters because they're already there. We're just putting them together. You fill in the like backstory from the comics.
Yeah, it's like what they did with the Spider-Man MCU movie. What was it, Homecoming?
Yeah. They don't really do that.
No, but for Peter. Like, you don't have his whole backstory and stuff, because you already know his backstory.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and like I mentioned earlier, the Sandman thing, like, maybe do a similar thing where he's just a guy that shows up and he has powers. We don't need to see his origin story. We don't need to see him become Sandman. He's just a bad guy that has sand powers, and you can get a line like Peter says in the movie, like, "Oh, where do these guys come from? These super villains?" Because it's like a couple years, I believe, between each movie.
Yeah.
So you can just say like, "Oh, super villains. There's a new one every week." Yeah, he should just be a guy that has powers. I think if you diminish his role but still have him be present, you get someone that you get someone that Spider-Man can punch, and you show off his power early in the movie. You see like he knows what he's doing. He's a competent superhero, but you don't need to have like the main villain introduced already for him to do that. He can just be a side guy. Yeah. And also, by the way, I wrote this down so I don't forget. If we don't include his origin story, then we don't have to justify why the scientists would sand nuke a bird.
Yeah, that is also true. I was thinking with if we did it though with Green Goblin like replacement, it would be accurate to the comics because that's what happens after Norman dies. Harry takes up the role, but also, it gives us more room to do like feature length stuff for each of the Sinister Six guys as they come in. Like you could have an entire movie focused around Venom. It's not going to be like how it's like done in that one where, Eddie Brock, they make him the most unlikable piece of shit so you don't like him. So it's satisfying when he gets his ass kicked.
Yeah.
They could actually, make him a
God,
character.
I hate Eddie Brock in this movie so much. He doesn't even have the right build.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it's a funny thing. That's the thing, though. You could easily fix it by like what they did in the Venom movie, where Venom just, forms around him and becomes this like jacked bodybuilder.
Right. But I mean, even
But
then,
they
Tom
didn't.
Hardy is like he's a muscular looking dude.
Yeah,
I
he's
mean,
not
he was Bane.
bad looking. Yeah, that's true.
The kid from that 70s show does not have nearly the level of like physical presence that being Venom requires.
Yeah, but being Eddie Brock, a piece of shit reporter, he has absolutely the right amount.
By the way, speaking of Venom, this is another note that I wrote down. I don't like the idea of the symbiote just coming from space.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking with it. Is
I feel like it raises too many questions and it has way too many implications.
Yeah, that's the
it's
thing
like,
though. It's kind of true to the origin where it's
not at all true.
Venom.
It's a
Venom's
little
an
bit
alien.
it's a little bit true to the origin, but
like they try
it's not
to
at
get
all
it
the same
right.
circumstance. Because in Venom's origin, it's secret wars. Everyone's in space fighting like different universes or whatever, and Peter comes
And he
across this
accidentally-
alien thing, this alien goo, and like that's comic book stuff, but
it's dumb.
taking that and turning it into it's from an asteroid. It's like, from where? Are there more of them? Is there a planet of symbiotes? Now in comic books, like you see that kind of thing all the time. Like in the comics, there is a planet full of symbiotes, but we don't need that in this movie.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like what they originally were going to do with Venom, where you know how JJ's got his son up in space.
Oh yeah,
they want to have him bring it down instead of it being an asteroid.
It's maybe not the worst thing, but I still don't think. I think it should be like an Ultimate Spider-Man, where it's like a synthetic kind of thing.
Yeah,
where it's like in Ultimate Spider-Man, Peter's father and I believe Eddie Brock's father were like trying to cure cancer, and they came up with like they invented the symbiote.
They created life.
Yeah. I like the idea of it being created in a lab. Like that doesn't require a lot of explanation. It's like, they're working on something and then this appeared. Instead of the idea that like this is a species of something.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that. I don't know. I like the whole JJ's son being Venom for a little bit kind of thing, or at least just bringing it down.
Maybe that's what they did in Ultimate.
It does add a little bit of
not
like,
Ultimate Spider-Man. That's what they did in Spectacular Spider-Man.
Oh yeah,
yeah, I believe so. It's something that like latches onto the ship. They bring it down, then they like keep it in a lab.
Yeah.
But anyway, moving on to other supporting characters.
Yeah,
this was my note about MJ. Just make her better.
It's about me.
It's kind of fucked up that MJ like left a guy at the altar.
Yeah,
because I think I talked to Ian about this. I don't think you were there for this, but I was talking to Ian about this, and she spends a large portion of Spider-Man 2. You know, she's like, oh, I guess if Peter doesn't want all this, then I'm going to date the astronaut.
My son, the astronaut.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's like, oh, I'm dating an astronaut. I go to caviar parties, but I don't really like him that much. Guess I'll still marry him, though, even though I'm definitely in love with Peter.
Be mad interesting if Mary Jane was Venom.
Yes. But anyway, yeah, so she spends the movie like with the astronaut. I want to say John Jameson, but I honestly am not sure. But then
It's John.
Yeah, so then on their wedding day, she's like, I'm not feeling it. So I'm going to go run away and be with Peter. And he is like, okay, I guess, but like, I'm still Spider-Man. And she's like, oh, that's okay. I believe in you. Go get him, Tiger. I love that you're so heroic. And so he goes and he fights crime and he saves the day and he saves people's lives. And then the next movie, Peter So she's like, this is pretty early on after, you know, the reviews are coming in and she bombed on Broadway. And he's like, oh, I understand. You know, I get people in the press like talking shit about Spider-Man, saying that I'm a villain, and she's like, this isn't about you. It's about me.
It's about me.
Yeah, what I would do is just remove that.
Oh yeah, for sure. See, my problem with that, like, I don't mind MJ as a character. Like, I think, and this is something that I had written down about positive things in the movie. It is actually really interesting to see the movie explore MJ's perspective as being someone that's trying to make it, you know, as a singer, as an actress. And, you know, she's also dating someone who's famous. Like, this is a thing that famous people who date each other deal with, where it's like, if you're not really secure with yourself and your relationship, it can be, you know, it can put a strain on your relationship if you're both, you know, trying to be in the public eye and be famous. Cause it's like, what if one of you is more successful than the other? It's interesting to see that play out. But when her character overreacts to moments like that, when he's literally just trying to relate to her struggle and console her, it takes away from moments where she's legitimately frustrated at him.
Yeah. I think when I said remove that, I mean like the whole it all being about MJ, where she's all like, you know, it's not like a good character. It's just kind of like the generic response to everything.
What do you mean?
Like the whole like it's not about you thing. You know?
Yeah. When she says it's not about you, that's a horrible moment. I would scrap that because, like I said, it takes away.
Yeah,
and
what I would do is have it be like a slow burn kind of thing where it's like it doesn't mess with her at first, but it starts to build up over time.
Yeah. I think it's
like instead of just being like one bit of criticism, like she just like over the course of the entire movie just kind of builds up and shit. And maybe have Peter be a bit more distant because, you know, he's dealing with two bad guys. Or include
some of it in Spider-Man 2, which I don't remember if they included a lot of that in Spider-Man 2. I know she was like modeling.
They had a couple things, but I think it was mostly model stuff.
It's something that really should build up over 2 or 3 movies.
Yeah.
Which I really do want to see it explored. I want to see the idea of her being jealous of Peter's, I guess, public adoration. But just you know, do it right. Because like another problem that it creates is when she gets mad at Peter just for being Spider-Man. Like when you know, the crane is crashing into the building and Peter's like, oh shit, I gotta go like rescue people. She's like, fucking go, I guess. You don't care about me or whatever. It's like, what are you supposed to do with like being Peter, being Spider-Man? What are you supposed to do in that moment? Because like it puts him in a really tough spot because it's like either he saves lives or he consoles his girlfriend. Either way, he loses, because if he goes saves lives, then she's mad at him. But if she stays with her, people die. And it really makes MJ look like she doesn't care about innocent people that would die if Peter didn't act. Because it's like, what if you were married to a firefighter, right? And there was a fire down the road and he had to go put it out, but you're like in the middle of discussing something, or, you know, you're trying to tell him about your day, and then he has to go and put out the fire. Are you going to be mad at him for that?
Yes, I would call upon all curses to that man. How dare he go and do his job?
I understand being upset about it, but it seems like she's upset at him.
Yeah. That's why what I thought would be a good way to do it is, instead of her, like, you know, lashing out at Peter, blaming him for all of her things, she internalizes it and shit. And then, like, because the thing is, though, I like the whole dynamic of Harry ruining Peter's personal life and also his superhero shit. Because, like, that's such a good, like, classic villain trope that always just works for me. I love that kind of shit, because it's always satisfying when those guys get beaten. And so, like, you know, Harry could just, you know, swoop in and start, like, you know, when Peter's gone to do whatever Peter says he's doing, Harry's there. And, like, over the course, they naturally build up a better relationship. Because Harry's at least there for her.
Yeah.
And that just rubs salt in Peter's metaphorical
Puts dirt
wounds.
in his eye.
I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye.
Yeah, there we go. Of course, though, I do later on. I don't want Green Goblin, the new Green Goblin, to just be like a one-off thing. I do like the idea of Harry at least teaming up with Spider-Man at some point because they're supposed to be friends.
See, that's a difficult
And,
part of having him be Venom. Because
that's why I want to keep him as Green Goblin.
Yeah.
Like he replaces him and he starts doing criminal shit. But then like later on we'll get like a bigger villain like Venom, for instance, and then they team up to fight him.
I'm conflicted on that because I feel like if anyone is going to be Venom, it should be Harry. But Harry is like too good, like, and also James Franco is too good to just kill off like that and not be redeemed.
Yeah. That's why I think if they do it, they should build up Eddie Brock in his own movie and make him like an actual character that you can enjoy and you can understand and sympathize with.
What if, and I'm just this is just kind of stream of consciousness. What if, after Harry becomes Venom, you can give him a little bit of some kind of like redemption arc or something, or Peter like pulls him out of it and Harry's like, you're right, I gotta leave this alien goo, and then either the symbiote is acting on its own or it finds a new host or whatever. I don't know, but then you get Harry like busting into Norman's old goblin stuff, and then they team up and fight Venom, whether it be just the symbiote as like a big monster final form kind of thing, or with a new host, maybe. I'm not sure. Or you can just tease new or like Eddie Brock as Venom for the next movie.
I like that. Because that's the thing I want to do is I don't want there to be too many guys in it. Like even having just 2 antagonists feels like a lot, but with Sandman being there is more like a side villain. I feel like it's okay.
Sandman is more of a set piece or a plot
I want
device.
The whole, I want Eddie Brock being Green Goblin to be something that's like over the course of a few movies. So he's not just like 2 movies, we'll say, where he's actually Green Goblin fucking up Spider-Man. So that way, like, there's a time where something happens, they have to team up and shit like that.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have it be the whole, the glider came from your father's glider thing. You'd probably something else.
I still want that moment to exist, though, just for the meme.
The blade that pierced his body came from his gilder.
But no, I like the idea though of there being a Sinister Six team up at some point. Maybe that's what would happen for Harry and Spider-Man to team up.
Maybe
it's like a Sinister Six with Venom in charge or something.
Yeah, but maybe.
Or of course with like characters they built up, because like you need Rhino in there too and Vulture. But that's what the 4th one was going to be. The 4th one was going to be Vulture. So, boom. Maybe he teams up with them at first, but then they start doing like some seriously heinous shit. And he's like, this is kind of fucked up. He has like a realization. It's like, if I go about the path I'm going, I'm just going to turn into a huge fucking monster.
Before we get too much further, I also, on the subject of side characters, I wanted to address this. Gwen Stacy was criminally underused, or I guess misused, in this movie. If you're gonna include her at all, which I question whether you should, you gotta do it right. She can't just be the other woman.
It is very weird that Gwen Stacy is in these movies after Green Goblin's dead. Because even with Harry as the new Goblin, he's not going to kill Gwen Stacy.
There's more to Gwen Stacy than just being killed by the Green Goblin. You know that, right?
Oh, yeah, I know. But it's just like, I don't know. It just feels weird having like all the stuff that takes place after her death taking place while she's still alive.
I guess not really. It doesn't really play that much into it. Like, it's not really that important that you got to make sure that she gets killed by the Green Goblin or she doesn't outlive the Green Goblin. I feel like they misused her as a person, as a character. It doesn't really matter when she dies or if she dies in the movies.
Shit, you know what they could do? You remember the police chief in Insomniac Spider-Man game?
Oh, Yuri Watanabe.
Yuri, yeah. Yeah. They could have it like that, where she she takes
Something
over her
like
dad's
that.
spot. She trains at the academy.
Maybe. I just don't know. I don't think she should be in the movie. I think she should be saved for later installment.
Later date. It's weird though, because like every time she's in it, she's always also a damsel in distress.
Maybe.
It's like every woman in Spider-Man's life is the same exact person.
Right.
It's just someone that accidentally gets attacked by the Green Goblin or Doc Ock or a fucking crane.
Yeah, I don't know. It's difficult finding a way to put her into the plot that just makes sense and makes sense with the character. Because like Peter is with MJ, like he's going to be with her. Like they're not going to end the movie with them split apart.
Yeah. You know, they could build her up more as a character, like with the whole Dr. Connors and shit like that. What if, like, instead of him becoming Lizard, it's her?
Maybe. I don't know. That doesn't add anything to the character, though. It doesn't.
Well, yeah, I know. I'm just trying to eyeball things to do with her, because, like, you know, she's his friend that works in the science lab.
Well, I like.
Occasionally,
I really like the dynamic that Peter and Gwen have. I really do like it a lot. It was great in the Amazing Spider-Man movies. It helped, of course, that Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone had incredible chemistry on set, but they have a certain dynamic that Peter and MJ just don't have. And Peter and MJ have a dynamic that I guess Peter and Gwen don't have. I don't really know as much about Peter and MJ as a couple as I do about Peter and Gwen, but they have this distinct sort of energy between them where it's like they're both like geniuses, at least in the
they're made for
like
each
in the
other.
Amazing Spider-Man movies. They're like both like intellectual types, I guess, so they can relate over that.
I know how to help you.
What are you doing?
I know the grid specs. I can reset the system.
Yeah.
And in Spectacular Spider-Man, which I know I reference a lot, they have a similar thing where they're into the same stuff, and you know, she's like the nerdy girl next door type. And then Peter and MJ usually have this sort of like more, I guess, feelings based connection. I don't know if that's the right word, but
I know what you mean. It's like it doesn't like it's like those
just
weird relationships that don't feel like they'll work.
It's just
in
a
real
sheer
life.
attraction.
Yeah.
Whereas, like Gwen and Peter are drawn to each other by their brains, where Peter and MJ are drawn to each other by their hearts.
Isn't that what love is?
Look, I'm trying really hard to put into words something that's really hard to put into words.
They only like fucking because they both look good.
They do math equations while they have sex.
Yeah. Where Gwen Stacy is actually Spider-Man's friend, Mary Jane is like someone Spider-Man met and thought was kind of cute, and that's the person he's gone with because he's an idiot.
Yeah, he doesn't know just how much.
Like, she's not a bad person. It's just they don't go well together.
He just doesn't know how much ass he could get.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but that's the thing though about it. Like, if I know we joked around about having Mary Jane become Venom, but she could become a villain of some sort. You know? Maybe she becomes like Venom and all her like negative emotions and
I don't
shit
know.
just kind of like get the better of
I
her.
don't know about that.
I don't know. I'm just trying to think of something to do because you could totally like replace Mary Jane with Gwen, and it would probably be a better relationship with better chemistry, like you were saying.
Maybe
Like,
just
yeah,
make
it
them
removes a staple
friends.
character, but
Maybe it doesn't have to be a romantic thing.
nah, it's Spider-Man though.
Oh, right, of course.
He's either fucking them or they're dead.
Of course. But no, seriously
It's
though.
the same goes with his male friends. He's either fucking them or they're dead, or they're his next villain.
Seriously though, like take gender out of it. Why can't Gwen Stacy just be someone that Peter is friends with? That
True.
is his lab partner, and they, you know, are there for each other.
Oh, I had a thought. Okay, so you know, the game, the PS4 game, and how like
I know everything about it.
Otto is all like he's like his friend that helps him build shit all the time. What if like that's what Gwen is, except she doesn't turn into Doc Ock?
Maybe. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Like that's where he goes to get like interesting suit designs and shit, so he can have better fight things. Maybe during the Lizard thing, because they both work under Dr. Connors. Maybe she finds out he's Spider-Man because he has to help her and the rest of the science team, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I can help you with this shit." And he's like, "Yeah, fuck it, sure."
Yeah, that's definitely something to save for a later movie or.
Yeah, no, this isn't Spider-Man 3. This is probably gonna be Spider-Man 5 because 4's got the Vulture.
Yeah, I can't think of a way to fit her in properly while doing her justice.
Just like, I don't know, have there be some scenes where, like, you know, Spider-Man socializing and then he's being attacked by villains.
Something like that. We can, just throw something in, I guess, but
like just enough to like help build up the characters for when they actually need to have like the shining moments.
Right. But
because like it's not the main love interest or the villain of that movie, so it's hard to actually put the side characters in good situations.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, I think we should start wrapping this up because we've been recording for close to 3 hours now. This might be our longest episode.
I will say though, this is probably a pretty decent episode.
Oh yeah,
we did, though.
We
got Spider-Man 3 figured out, and I like both of our ideas. I like the whole Harry as Venom being like a twisted version of Peter Parker.
And like you were saying though about this being a good one, yeah, I really feel good about this one. I felt awake the whole time.
Yeah, that cocaine really helped, man.
God, every day I imagine the sheer power that I would have if I was on cocaine.
Pierce, you've had 3 flu shots. That's for the daycare center. I'll be a living god.
So anyway, I think that's everything.
Yeah. Overall, just like know what you want to build your series up to, like firsthand. Don't let the executives, fuck with you.
It's not that Sam Raimi let them. It's that they give him money to make movies, and if he doesn't do what they want, they don't give him money, and he doesn't get to make movies. So I should have said that up top. We are not professional writers. This is just our 2 cents. We understand that there's a lot that goes into making movies, and as a director, Sam Raimi faced a lot of challenges with the studio. I've heard all kinds of horror stories about Sony's management. So Sam Raimi, if you're listening to this, which, there's an above 0% chance that you are, we love you and we understand.
I am a huge fan of his work. I loved Evil Dead.
I haven't seen it, but I've been meaning
to make more. If you're going to watch it, I recommend watching the second one first. It does a recap of what happens in the first one, and it's more of how the series is moving forward.
All right.
Whereas the first one was a genuine attempt at a horror movie, with some creepy parts and some really disturbing parts, but overall it's just, it's just kind of funky.
All right.
The second one is a horror comedy, so there's like weird, creepy things every now and then, but it's mostly just outrageous, like funny.
Well, that sounds awesome. So. Thanks for watching this clip from our podcast, Bold of You to Say. There's new episodes every Friday on all podcast platforms. If you like this video, check out some more on the channel and check out the full show, link in description. And while you're at it, treat yourself to a Muscle Rock shirt from our new merch store on tpublic.com. That'll also be linked down below. But other than that, like, comment, subscribe, and just thanks for watching.